And welcome, everybody, to our review of the first night of WrestleMania 42, presented by many sponsors, many contributing partners that all brought you this WrestleMania experience. I did enjoy some of these 8-minute commercial breaks we got in between ads. They were quite something on this undercard. How are you, Wai?
You know, I can't really say I can even comment on that so much anymore because I never watch these shows live.
No,
ever.
neither do I.
Yeah, and if you're any sort of seasoned fan at this point, I don't understand why you would. Obviously, unless you're watching with a crowd, like with people at home, which, I mean, I got no social life, other than doing this, John. So that's never an issue with me. But yes, there are always a lot of commercials, and there will continue to be a lot of commercials as long as this company is in existence, I feel.
Well, here we are, everyone. We are live tonight. Want to give a big thank you to all of the people that have checked out Post Wrestling over the past week. We've had great engagement, strong returns, organic moats, blah, blah, blah. We thank all of the people that have joined us over the past week, signed up for the Post Wrestling Cafe. Our sale continues this month, by the way, for all new subscribers, 50% off your first month if you are a new subscriber, and we are going to be continuing. Just because WrestleMania is over, we're diving into a 4-part double shot that we'll be releasing later this month, beginning to cover the Hulk Hogan Real American doc series that will launch on Netflix in a couple of days. Also this week, your Patrons Pick edition of Rewind Away. The people have spoken. The votes have been tallied. Spring Stampede 1994 this Thursday. And for the Louis Theroux fans out there, I think we will have a solution in the coming weeks, potentially.
Possibly, yeah. But a lot of debate going on about that particular patron spec, and so maybe we'll give some love to some of the runner-ups as well.
So we did do a show earlier today going over spring break and Bloodsport and some of the news items, and we did discuss this, but I think it is worth reiterating because it did get a lot of attention today, and that is Andreas Hale of ESPN, who was tweeted out that he was denied credentials and blocked access. He stated that neither I nor ESPN has been told why. You can speculate on the reasons, but if you want answers, ask WWE. Let me know what they tell you. This tweet has been retweeted 3.2 thousand times and like 20,000 times. So this has gotten a lot of coverage. And on a day when, if you were Googling WWE ESPN, I think this would be a high volume day for people searching that. This inevitably would be coming up in your search results as well. Like, this got a lot of attention because of Andreas's obvious affiliation with ESPN. He is based in Las Vegas. And yeah, there really hasn't been any more than that. We have reached out to ESPN. They were not commenting on this. We did not hear back from WWE. It was interesting because, we are in an era where they've removed the press conferences. So, I mean, you could certainly look at this way. Like, every outlet has their sort of mandate of what they are going to cover at these events. Like, you and I have discussed this many times. Like, there is basically no reason for us to attend a show like this as media at this point, beyond you're there to watch it. It's like, for those of you that have never been in like a press box at these WrestleManias, like there's week events like where you can go and do your interviews and such, but night of, it's not like you're getting interview opportunities. The press conferences are gone. Like, you are basically there to watch the show in essence. So with the press conferences gone, obviously this is not going to get addressed by WWE, and it's one where I look at this one as, like, what is ESPN's role in all of this? Like, in terms of a partner of WWE, I mean, that is one area where you would think like WWE has to work with this entity. And I do kind of look at ESPN here about, like, do they back their guy here in Andreas Hale?
Yeah. Well, going back all the way back to maybe when this initial deal was announced, I believe it was Brandon Thurston who questioned one of the heads of ESPN about whether or not this would provide any sort of conflict. And I believe the
Church
ESPN
and state
said something to the effect of church and state. And that seems to be maybe the way WWE may be handling this. You know, like maybe being close friends, obviously, with their broadcast partner and providing all the access they want for promotion of their events, but restricting access to the journalistic arm of ESPN, which is a very fascinating sort of like direction. I mean, in all of this, they've only bought for themselves incredibly negative press, you know, at least to a large section of this demographic. So I question that decision, obviously. But whether or not this indicates any sort of further separation of maybe ESPN, the journalistic side, from the broadcaster side, as far as WWE goes, I think those are legitimate questions.
Yeah, like to me, this is a news story. Like, I don't even know how ESPN would necessarily cover this, if they would at all cover this. Like, I would hope ESPN at least puts out a statement, and we didn't get one today. I think you kind of have to, and this is the weird spot ESPN places itself in, and it's not just with WWE, but with the NFL, where now there's like a minority ownership stake. It's like where it becomes very, very difficult, I would say, in this modern age, if you are working for a corporate media entity and you ultimately are serving multiple masters. You want to have a news arm, but you're also in business with these companies that their priority is not being in business with ESPN for journalism's sake. It is maybe that is an arm of ESPN's business, but it is not going to be necessarily the driver when it comes to these multi-million-dollar television rights deals that they have with various leagues, with places like WWE, for instance. But if you're going to be a news outlet, like, this is kind of a test of, do you stand up for your guy? Do you publicly defend him? Like, Andreas he's a very good reporter. And that seems to be at the crux of this, is letter grades, essentially, is what this comes down to from last year. And the fact that, and I did look back just to see some of the coverage this week on the ESPN digital side this week. There was a really big story that they did with one of ESPN staff writers, with Paul Heyman. But generally, I mean, it's a lot of lists. It's a lot of like pieces by various ESPN staff. And outside of the Heyman piece, I did not see a whole lot of like original content for, at least in terms of interviews and such like that. That seemed to be largely for the television side, which, I mean, was inundated, where there was talent over their airwaves all week long. So it does seem to be like a difference between the journalism side and the on-air portion of ESPN as well. But I would imagine like there will be some stories about this on Monday. Like, this got a lot of attention from like sports media types, and it circulated a lot. And the fact that this is a partner in WWE and ESPN, like, that will amplify attention when you have the letters ESPN attached to it.
My feeling on it all is that this will probably still stay within the wrestling bubble, like, where I feel, you know, these sort of stories just, I don't know if wrestling, especially wrestling media, is taken as seriously outside of, you know, our space, right? By, you know, like maybe larger sort of like mainstream sports entities. And that to me will make me feel like WWE won't care about this story as much, or at least they won't care enough to change any sort of direction. I also feel like ESPN will probably err on the side of making sure this partnership is, you know, sort of amicable rather than contentious over news pieces on the website.
Yeah. I mean, it's, I don't know what to say. Like, I don't have a great insight into, or at least like feel good about just the state of some of these media positions, where I think like the indirect message here is that if you're someone within ESPN that is writing about WWE, if you're writing about NFL, it's like, don't go for topics that are going to disenfranchise you from the league you're covering, because at the end of the day, ESPN may not have your back. And if you cannot be sent to events to cover, is that harming your own value to that specific news outlet? And that's where you're in. It's like, who are you ultimately working for? And that becomes very difficult to do journalism when you're with one of these corporate entities that have a high stakes relationship with these leagues that you are covering. And ultimately, they are the ones that can command this power. And ESPN has a lot of power too. And that's the interesting dynamic here.
I guess my question is, not to make this topic too long, because this is a WrestleMania review, of course. We will get to it. But my question is, if you're ESPN, why do journalism? at this point? What does journalism? What's the merit in even doing journalism?
Well, it's at this stage, I think it's very hard for them to do journalism in the sense of how deep you're going to go into things. Like when there was the concussion, like the heaviest of concussion issues a decade ago, and how much they were going to cover. But that was considered like, this is ultimately like a service for our audience that is that we can both it can be profitable through our investigative series that we broadcast, and that this is ultimately a news entity. But as more and more, like, you are getting away from journalism, and if journalism is going to cause you all of these headaches with your partners, it becomes that sort of fork in the road of what are you doing this for? And it's, unfortunately, journalism can be very expensive, and it also brings with you a lot of these types of problems. And I think when you are trying to mix the two, where you are both league partner and you are doing journalism, I think that's a very dangerous mix, and it's only intensified over this last decade. And this is the point where we have a lot of these major news outlets that are connected in some way, shape, or form. And we have talked about this with ESPN. We have talked about this with front office sports right now. The same thing, like these business relationships with these entities that you are covering, and it gives you the appearance of a conflict. And in this instance, it feels like one person who opted to cover the Janelle Grant story and give a C letter grade is facing retribution over that and not being credentialed. That would be the theory that you would draw for this, because WWE did not give him a reason for why he was not credentialed.
We could talk about this beyond sports. We could talk about this with Skydance and CBS and, soon to come CNN, right? These are questions that are bigger than maybe just professional wrestling when we're talking about entities just owning basically everything,
Yes, it is a common trait among all of these giant companies that will be the first ones to, when it comes to politics, discuss freedom of speech and how important it is, and we should be allowed to say anything. But somehow that never does apply when you are the one that maybe is the focus of reporting, for instance. I did think it was important that we do discuss this, because this was a notable story, and I'm curious if this just becomes, like, as you said, this is kind of contained. Well, it's wrestling. It's not going to get that attention. We saw the opposite a decade ago with Ariel Helwani, where it became a really big story the Monday after UFC 199, and a quick 180 that the UFC took in turn. Like, you and I were discussing this afternoon, this idea that would they ultimately just correct this with Andreas? Because I just felt for WWE, it's like there's nothing to gain from this weekend of just, other than you can do it, but do you want this attention that this one, and I say this as someone that, like, if I was in this spot, this would not get any type of attention, but because it's ESPN, it's going to get so much more attention. But ultimately there was no update. It did not appear that they reversed course here on this.
Maybe they feel confident that the amount of attention that it's getting is not enough to rock the boat enough.
And sometimes that is, unfortunately, the way these things pan out ultimately. So we will be getting into our coverage now of the first night. So let us start with the attendance. So the final number from WrestleTix was 49,918. Throughout the night, Michael Cole was just giving the figure of over 50,000. And out came John Cena. And he said that, there's been a lot of speculation about this attendance. And we're in Las Vegas, and I'd bet the over. I'm like, the over of what, John? Last year's attendance? Because it did not hit the over. He announced 50,816. The last year's first night, according to the Las Vegas Convention and Visitors Authority, 58.
We should not be comparing this number to that number. We should be comparing this number to their own announced number last year, should we not?
What was last year's announced number? Do you have it handy?
I believe I do have.
I think it was around 60 and change.
61. Let me just me just look it up. I should have had this. 61,467. It was what they themselves announced last year.
So if we even go with WWE's own projected numbers that they gave, this was 11,000 below. If we go with the LVCVA number last year, this is down 13% from that number last year. I mean, whatever way you want to look at this.
It's down.
It's down, and this was also the show that did have the 25% off sale as well last week.
It's down. We knew it would be down. I maybe they take some solace in recognize, in saying that it's at least past the 50,000 threshold. This, I don't know if it'd be as much of a talking point nor as much of a discussion as John Cena is alluding to, if not for WWE themselves.
They made this
Pat McAfee.
This was the show that was. I mean, it was. How could Randy Orton not be selling tickets?
Like, this would just be a healthy number, I feel like, to most people, right? 50,000 people in attendance for a show, that would be enough to celebrate. But to have it be such a point of discussion that it's being compared to the previous year, it kind of turns it into a bad one.
It was. I thought like they had several options here of how they were going to do this. It could have been just a wildly inflated number, and they opted not to go with that. Interestingly, like, this is not very far. Like, this is within 1,000 of the WrestleTix number. Or I thought, because they have announced,
I think people would at this point call them on their bullshit. Like, I mean, like you can't do 93,000 anymore, right?
Yeah, but I mean, it's less so in this, like, Paul Levesque regime, where they will inflate, but they typically do not do it to any, like, embarrassing degree. Like, it is relatively within the ballpark. The other one was, if they had in fact done a better gate, or at least a gate that would be a stunning number to give, because we don't have last year's per night gate number. We have the overall total. They could have gone with a gate, and they decided not to go with that. Like,
would
if
they have that number readily available? Like,
I would
right now.
Well, they used to, if you remember back like years ago, they would always have a press release that they would literally hand out to us at the press box, and they'd have a ridiculous attendance number, but they did have the legit gate number. Like, it did come with, like, the ticketing fees and what, but it was a legit gate number that they used to give out in concert with the attendance number. And they could have announced, like, a crazy gate figure, because I imagine, like, I'm sure they cleared $50 million for these two nights, and maybe that's being conservative. And that sounds pretty spectacular. But
again, even this talking point, I feel like would be too in the weeds, really, for any sort of actual effect on WWE. And it probably still is. But again, because they themselves have emphasized it within story that this is now a talking point, I'm sure it's just elicited a lot more controversy and a lot more interest from people who would otherwise not care about it.
If night 2 is ahead, does Pat McAfee have to relent and announce that this was the ass show of the weekend?
He might have to relent and admit a lot of things. Yeah.
So we had the Las Vegas Mass Choir singing "God Bless America." And then there was a re-air of the Lin-Manuel Miranda video that aired on SmackDown. A really great video of various talent citing their favorite moments in WrestleMania history, spanning, like, all the different years. And Michael Cole and Wade Barrett are calling tonight's show. And there in the front row, one night after spring break, George Kittle, who downed maybe, I don't know how many beers on camera tonight. It was a lot. I don't know if this guy will make it tonight, too, based on his intake that we saw. I mean, this guy, and just like a sloppy drinker, too, getting it all in his beard. I mean, this guy was just a mess. I'm sure he took an Uber home from Allegiant Stadium.
I would hope so. Yes, I would hope so.
Yeah. So, they put.
By the way, somebody in the chat said he's college roommates with one called Nanders, and that's why he was there at spring break yesterday.
They are buddies. Yeah. I don't know if they were roommates, maybe. But yeah, they do have a relationship, but from the brass ring to Mania the next night, the guy took in a lot of wrestling. Maybe he stayed around for the Juggalo show.
It wouldn't surprise me. No.
John Cena starts off the show, and he comes out, and the man has said he will never wear his uniform again. And he comes out, and it was just so jarring to see this man in his corporate media attire, comes out in the suit, and then he just walks down the ramp, and even he realized, like, this is a long ramp, and he had to go into a bit of a jog to get to the ring, because he was going like at Iron Sheik speed down this. But it was just such a bizarre John Cena entrance here where there's no running, it's just in the suit.
I think we have to separate John Cena, the wrestler, from John Cena, the non-wrestler, in some way. And I think at least partially that might have influenced him not running to the ring. There was so much hype around just this is the final time I'm going to make down the run to the ramp, Stu. Goodbye, Stu. I'll never ever see you again. And to have this moment occur really merely 4 months later, I really do think of course, you understand why they, hit the panic button and brought Cena in, to maybe add a few more numbers to this attendance. But
because God knows it's not like they had a plethora of ideas for him.
But this moment, I think 2 years separated, even a year separated, I think would have meant a whole lot more.
You're probably not wrong because he did not feel that special on this show, and obviously his addition, it's not like it led to a big spike in tickets being moved. Just having John Cena physically at these shows. He says that this year's road to WrestleMania has been chaos, unpredictable, and everyone has been very vocal. He says, we call that polarizing. I was like, wow, we're getting off to a great start here. This has been a mess, folks, but we're here. He says, the time to talk is over. Now it's time to see who will step up and deliver tonight. Who can work an 8-minute match and make it a career-defining night, because there'd be many candidates that would be handicapped by that. And then we have some pyro to start and right into the Usos entrance as they make their way through the crowd, and LA Knight pulls up on a pickup truck, a custom LA Knight pickup truck onto the stage.
Sponsored by Ram, of course.
Oh, of course, yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you make sure I get all my sponsor mentions in, okay, Way? And the Vision, we go to a split screen, and they're behind this Vision banner. And then we just multiplied the screen.
A vision board, if you will.
It was a vision board, yes. And I would have loved to have known what the objectives were of this whole thing. So we go to 2 screens. Then we go to 4 screens. Then we're up to 9, with the aerial view. So we get 9 cameras just to show off our many different camera options here.
This is kind of Logan's thing. He's done entrances like this in the past, but yes. Mm-hmm.
A lot of cameras that they had. Yeah. So there we have it. Logan Paul, Austin Theory, and I Show Speed. No Paul Heyman out for this particular match. And the Usos immediately start with super kicks, leaving I Show Speed alone. And it was just the Usos and LA Knight wanting to get their hands on him. And Knight applies a headlock like he's Jerry Lawler with Andy Kaufman. And he ends up backflipping his way out and hits a clothesline. Logan is tossed out after a tag to Theory, and he hits a rolling drop kick. They get the heat on Jimmy. Jimmy manages a whisper in the wind, tags in Jay, and Jay spears Theory. Paul's in for the save, and then Jimmy, they grab Speed, and Speed hits a tilt-a-whirl head scissors. The BFT gets stopped as Speed sends Knight accidentally into Logan Paul, knocking Logan Paul off the apron, so Paul's annoyed at Speed. Theory starts screaming at Speed with instructions, and with that, Knight runs Theory into Speed, hits a blunt force trauma on Theory, pinning him in 7 minutes and 10 seconds. And Paul is furious with Speed and decks him, telling him you had one job, and calls him a moron. So he places Speed onto the desk, and as Logan goes to climb the buckle, the Usos return, and they stop Logan Paul, and they go for a 1D. This 1D that Jimmy didn't catch the target at all here, so this was essentially a flapjack by Jay, just lifting and dropping him. And Knight then rolls Speed into the ring, and he puts Logan Paul on the desk. A great signal for the greater discourse out there where people cannot get along, that here is LA Knight who gets decked by brass knuckles by I Show Speed, and he found the forgiveness in his heart after this match. So that was a nice feel-good message from LA Knight to Speed. And they place Logan Paul onto the desk, and Speed climbs up and hits the I Show Splash, as Michael Cole called it, and Jay then calls for an encore. They play the music, and they yeet with I Show Speed. And I thought this was a great launching pad for I Show Speed as the next star over this next year. This was just a great focus on I Show Speed that he got here. A wonderful commercial if you were I Show Speed here, because he was front and center. This was so mesmerizing, Way, that even Cameron it wasn't in his heart.
Was he there? Was he shown on?
I don't know. He was never there. I never saw him.
Well, obviously he wasn't going to show up to night 1, right?
He said, "I'm coming on Saturday."
Oh, he did.
Yeah.
Well, maybe he had other plans.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, John, what did you expect? Like, this is on ESPN. This whole thing was built around celebrity in iShowSpeed. So, of course, it would end with what would probably be celebrated later on as maybe the most viral moment in whatever entertainment history, YouTube history, or something like that. The match itself, I found, was incredibly pedestrian, lacking to me in anything, I think, all that clever or interesting. Usos night, in theory, like for being the actual wrestlers in the match, I don't think they gave you any sort of performance that was beyond the level of a Raw or SmackDown.
Nope.
And maybe because the emphasis was so much on the celebrity, maybe they felt no incentive to. But I did feel like they could have done way more in the body of the match, even with Speed and with Logan Paul, which I didn't really. There certainly wasn't anything all that memorable. But I do think like the close of the segment was strong. I thought the stunt looked great, and I think having iShowSpeed do like what is a very impressive, move that we've seen Logan do previously. I think it was ended the segment strong, in my opinion.
I thought isolated, it was fine. I just don't think you got really anything out of it for, you didn't get any rub for any of the other guys involved here, but it was,
the rub wasn't so much for the guys as it was for the show, wouldn't you say? To bring attention to the show, isn't that the idea on ESPN?
If it did, sure. I mean, it was a cool spot. I don't know if this was
I'm not
where's my
audience.
ESPN app? I've got to sign up for this now.
Well, you and I are not the target audience of iShowSpeed, so I don't know if we're qualified to be able to say whether or not it was effective in that sense.
I just want an update on Cameron. I want to make sure he's okay. Can we get Mace on the phone? Get a checkup on Cameron? Did he make it? Was traffic bad in Vegas?
WrestleMania 43, perhaps.
I do want to know what the purpose of this angle was this past week.
To bring attention to the show, dude. That's it.
Yeah, but then the follow-up was, I'm coming on Saturday. They set up an angle and it didn't happen.
Don't worry. Don't concern yourself with follow-up.
If you watch that and you're a Cameron fan that wasn't going to watch WrestleMania, you'd be so disappointed by this, wouldn't you?
I guess I would question you being just purely a Cameron fan. I don't know, to that degree that you would care that much.
Okay. Kittle's still chugging beers. We got Tyrese Halliburton. Kittle comes over, chugs his beer. Dude, we're not even at the main show yet. This guy is multiples deep. And then Stephen A. Smith just gets all these boos. Man, loved it here. Okay, this guy was he was just basking in the booze. Jacob Fatu, Drew McIntyre, unsanctioned match. We had fire dancers for Jacob Fatu, and Drew makes his entrance, and he has brought Angela. She is back.
Oh, that's right. Yes, his mother, which
his mother
is now in the form of a sword. Yes. Mm-hmm.
So Fatu dives to the floor before the bell even rings, and we get tables, chairs, and the dreaded toolbox as they reference the Hell in a Cell match between Drew and Punk, which they mention Drew required 17 stitches from and almost ended his career.
Yeah,
I don't know if we were in fear of the man's career ending that night. In some ways, that made his career, but yes, he did need stitches that night. Fatu's head gets rammed into the apron, and then Drew goes over, and his brother, who has flown all the way over from Scotland, hands him a phone, and he uses it as a weapon and then takes a selfie with it. And Andrade, this was not, but he did get a selfie here. With
was it a selfie or was it like a FaceTime call? It looked like maybe.
Who was he on the phone with?
His wife, maybe.
Oh, okay.
I don't know.
Fatu stops Drew, and he has a wrench. Or Drew has the wrench. Drew rotates him with a German, and then Drew busts out the Tope Con Hero and got all the way over here. Claymore misses, and then it's a mighty moonsault by Fatu, and Drew kicks out. And they make a big deal out of Drew being the first to kick out of this in WWE. The wrench is used on Fatu's eye, and then he drops him onto a chair, and Drew grabs referee Dan Engler's belt, and Fatu lands a super kick and starts whipping him with the belt. The crowd is chanting for him. They're getting into this. Fatu gets a chair and places Drew onto the table, the chair gets whipped at Fatu on the buckle. He shoves him off, and Fatu flips off the turnbuckle through a table on the floor. We get Fatu returning fire, nails him with the toolbox, and then puts him through a table with the mighty moonsault to win. Big pop for the finish here at 14 minutes and 8 seconds as Jacob Fatu gets the win, and he is erased his past that Drew has brought back to the forefront.
I thought it was a decent match, and ended with like a pair of very satisfying table breaks. Clearly the right person won here in Jacob Fatu, just, needing this sort of boost, needing this sort of spotlight to send him to that next level that Drew's already at. I don't think, though, it approached nearly the level of spectacle that I think you would expect out of something with the unsanctioned moniker. And I'm not even speaking about like AEW unsanctioned matches, even like within WWE's own version of what unsanctioned means.
My, it's a hypodermic needle. Wade.
Like
that's presented by Wendy's, the hypodermic Wendy's needle.
For a stage like WrestleMania, I think I would expect something a bit more satisfying, a bit more sort of innovative, or at least unusual than, Slim Jim table breaks and, I mean, the toolbox, which is about as much as we saw.
You ever been hit with a wrench?
I've not, John. Yes, but I just didn't find it like that novel nor like that satisfying in what I feel like they've done good versions of, like, through like the Braun Strowman, Bronson Reed types of matches like that are big sort of car crashy type of stunts. This didn't really have any of that, and as a result, I found it pretty forgettable by the end.
How about Michael Cole's line at the end? Did you catch this?
What was that?
As Jacob is on his way to the back celebrating, Michael Cole says, in all sincerity, "The handcuffs were off for Jacob Fatu tonight."
Nice.
I don't know if Michael Cole.
You think that was fed? You think that was fed to him, or do you think he?
I don't know. I would love Michael Cole to talk to like an ex-felon and use that line on them and assume that they would be cool with it. Yeah. But when you are navigating online, NordVPN also allows you to take the handcuffs off without any geo restrictions while still protecting your online activity.
Support for this podcast comes from NordVPN. As wrestling companies rake in record profits, it seems many fans are growing frustrated with rising ticket prices and the need to juggle multiple streaming services just to follow weekly shows and premium live events. Luckily for Canadians, I'm based in a spot where one streaming service covers almost everything under one fee. But what if I'm off traveling in the US for a few weeks? So here's what I do. I launched NordVPN right on my phone, laptop, or Apple TV, changed my settings to point back to Canada, sign into my service, and I'm streaming everything like I do back home. It literally takes seconds. No cables or complicated setup required. On top of that, Nord encrypts your whole connection so your IP and location info stays hidden, especially if you're skeptical about a sketchy Wi-Fi network at your hotel or vacation rental. So head over to nordvpn.com/postwrestling to get our exclusive 2-year plan deal with a massive discount and 4 bonus months thrown in. No risk thanks to their 30-day money-back guarantee. That's nordvpn.com/postwrestling. Stay safe, save money, and enjoy all the benefits of a secure internet with Nord.
And we promise that's the only one on this show, folks.
Thank you very much, Sean.
We might do some cutaways to the general who's sitting off camera here with me.
Oh, we got a blimp circling around here. Don't you see that? That'll
it's right in the corner. Yeah. So the show proper kicks off with the 4-way women's tag team title match with Nia Jax and Lash Legend, who come out in these all-white demolition outfits. Were these the outfits of the show?
Maybe. Yeah, not a connection I would have predicted, at the start of the show. Which team would pay homage to Demolition?
I easily would have picked Lash Legend and Nia Jax. Nikki and Brie second.
Yes. It would have only been better if Axe and Smash actually walked out with them.
Oh, that would have been awesome. And they just hand them down the masks and pass them over. Yes. Yeah. Well, they come out. Alexa Bliss and Charlotte Flair, who had a butterfly theme with, one like
a vibrant butterfly. Another one that I'm sure was some form of homage to Bray Wyatt and Bray Wyatt's moth logo. Yeah.
Lyra, Valkyria, and Bayley, who came out to Lyra's theme. And then the Bellas come out, and Nikki is out on a crutch, and wouldn't you know it, she has announced that she has not been medically cleared, and they had to call an old friend.
Nikki sounded very emotional, and understandably so, in delivering this message. I don't doubt what she's saying is probably very true, and that she really tried, to be healthy. Very unfortunate timing for all of it, of course, just weeks before WrestleMania. But you can't argue that it didn't make for a likely much bigger moment in this match.
Yeah, I don't know when this was officially decided upon. I was told over a week ago. I was told by one person that it was Nikki is probably not going to be like, it's a no-go. But I didn't have that confirmed, and the way they were playing it up this week, it was like, okay, well, let us see what exactly happens here. At that time, and this was just over a week ago, that same person had told me like they're figuring out what to do. So that's kind of the timeline we're looking at probably for this whole thing to come together. But I don't know the exact day or whatever that they officially made this call with Nikki. But obviously this was not a case of just, over the last 24 hours locking this down. Of course, PW Insider had the report that Michael Cole missed, but everyone else had been aware of as well. So with that is the reveal of Paige, who comes out. Big reaction that she receives as expected. And Michael Cole, there was no way anyone knew Paige was going to be here at WrestleMania. And Paige has not had a match since October 2024. That was her last AEW match. And of course, this is her first WWE match since the injury back on December 27th, 2017, when our little website was 3 days old.
Wow. Which means, John, she hasn't had any match in 8 years.
Well,
Okay.
Tonight was awesome for two reasons with AEW history. We had the CM Punk timeline that magically skipped over 10 years. And then we had the evolution of Cody that we can get to later. Like these people were basically in mothballs for this time period. And they didn't leave their homes during those years.
I mean, of course, like why mention it if you don't have footage or access
I understand.
to it? Now, in the case of
it does allow us to poke fun.
Yes. Now, in the case of Punk, they did not mention any of his activity in the UFC, which they do have access footage to.
Oh, that's
true.
So. It was just left WWE, returned to WWE, and nothing.
He slept. He took a nap for like 10 years. Yeah.
He was tired. That was all. Yeah. And then he woke up one morning in a very bad mood and got on Twitter. So
the crowd went wild for her. And
one of the big pops of the whole show.
Like we've seen through her AEW run for like a number of these sort of very similarly heartwarming moments. I feel this one was different, given that it's just like she has history with WWE, and I think it's WrestleMania, which is arguably the biggest stage in professional wrestling. So like,
and ultimately, this was not the plan, and this probably was just something that came together relatively quick once it was known Nikki would not be able to wrestle here. It sounds like this is probably like just a set of circumstances that she absolutely was not imagining like 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, like the universe kind of, the WWE universe kind of willed this into existence, and you can't help but be happy for her in this moment. I thought it made for a wonderful entrance.
Yeah, and I mean, I do not know what the original plan was for this match, but it did kind of feel like, yes, Bayley got on the show this year, but it really felt like this was like she was the big story to win this. And once this arrival happened, I was like, well, there's no way they are beating Paige here on this show. Like it only makes sense that they went with the finish that they did. So Brie is delivering yes kicks to Lyra and Flair. Nia then sends Brie into the barricade and takes a choke slam on the apron by Lash. There was a rough looking tornado DDT by Alexa Bliss onto Lash. And then Paige gets the tag from Brie, and the place goes nuts. They really milked it for all it was worth, leading to Paige's entry into the match. And she hits a high cross. Lyra rolls through, tries for the Nightwing, and Paige turns it into the Paige Turner, and Bayley saves. There is a Lash extension onto Lyra. When Paige and Flair stop her, send Lash out, and Flair and Paige have the ring. And after all these years, the submission sorority is reunited.
Oh, I know them as Team PCB, all right? But yes, going by the OG name, which only lasted for about a week. So we shall see if we get a full reunion coming up.
There's a natural selection, and then with Paige down, Flair tags Bliss and is going for the Twisted Bliss, but Nikki, with her walking boot on, yanks Flair to the floor and nails her with the crutch. So she did get physically involved here. Bliss, in being delayed, goes for the Twisted Bliss, landing on Paige's knees, and Paige hits the Rampage, and she pins Alexa Bliss as Paige and Brie win the tag titles in all of 8 minutes and 41 seconds. I really felt for Yue, more so than me, because the SmackDown matches that they have had leading up to this, and this was 8 minutes and 41 seconds, which I think if you added up all the different incarnations of these combinations we got over the last 2 months, would greatly eclipse that length.
It would, yeah. Like, I mean, they spent a lot of time, you could say, building to this match on TV, but like with very little actual creativity to make you interested in the body of the match. So I don't know at what point they would have come to this decision, but having Paige enter completely made this it became the story of the match and suddenly made it a lot more captivating than what I can only imagine they would have had planned, had the Bellas been healthy. Can I just also say, like, I'm grateful that Paige is back because now she can keep all her pun names for her wrestling moves instead of just like, what was she calling her moves in AEW? Like, either something incredibly generic or just like, Paige Turner, Rampage, like that's just easy, and so we don't have to deal with that awkwardness anymore. I got emotional watching this stuff, John. Like, I mean, the body of the match was it wasn't so great, but like from the moment Paige came in there, I think like this crowd was completely like on a different level and they were engaged. And I think like in particular the moment where like Paige shared in the ring with Charlotte and the crowd recognized this as like a meeting between, like at this point, two pioneers of this particular era of like women's wrestling. I feel like it was like you felt for the both of them, like the career of like a woman in wrestling traditionally has not really been all that long, especially like those in the WWE. And typically if you're out, you are out for good. And that's certainly maybe what we would have considered for Saraya at one point. But to have like this sort of moment again for her and for people like the Bellas to be able to like let them have this sort of spotlight one more time after, in Saraya's case, everything we know she's been through. I thought like there were some very real emotions here on this count of three for Saraya and just having this moment actualized and lived through once again. And I thought it made for probably one of the more memorable moments of the entire weekend we'll be speaking about.
Yeah, and I thought Paige looked absolutely fine in this match, like and the crowd was obviously with her. It was the right finish to go with. I mean, more so, like, you're right, this was really all focused on Paige. They got the desired reaction. I wouldn't say the match was like blow away or anything, but it gave you the
match felt secondary, honestly, to me. But like it was also an interesting look at like where Paige was at. And in AEW, I certainly felt like she was not of the standard that division was approaching. In this ring, though, amongst these competitors, I thought she looked perfectly fine, even better maybe than what we saw out of her in AEW. So I hope this is a sign that she will have better performances than what we saw out of her in AEW, and that she might even be capable of kind of like having like greater matches than what we saw.
We go to Tony Hinchcliffe, who's hanging out with Jeffrey Ross as they promote the Kill Tony WrestleMania special. And then it was time for AJ Lee and Becky Lynch for the Intercontinental title, featuring a live performance by the Wonder Years for Becky Lynch. And then...
Were these entrances out of sync for you, like they were for me?
I didn't notice it.
Okay.
No.
Like, because for me, like they were awfully out of sync. And I don't know if that was just me or others.
Maybe it's just the song.
Could be. Yeah, I don't know.
So AJ's entrance, she comes out with all these kids that are dressed up as her. Like, they must have had an army of like just this talent call for any children under the age of like 7. And so they all come out and they skip down the aisle with AJ Lee.
I love this entrance. This was my entrance of the show. Just adorable, first of all. Like, I don't know if you noticed, but like AJ comes out with like 4 other little AJs by her arm, and like one of them came out and the smallest one just got so shy that she just like backed out and ended up like retreating back behind the entrance. It was completely adorable and I thought wonderful.
I'm hopeful that like one day we're going to do like a Becky Lynch documentary and it's revealed that like Rue was one of these kids. Wouldn't that have been great?
Absolutely.
Like the AJ Lee fan.
Yeah.
But yes. And then our presenting sponsor was Ruthless Pro Wrestling here. Did you notice this? It was Wendy's all over the mats here.
Oh, yes, I
took a second.
The dots. Yeah. Yes.
So Becky hits a fall-away slam right away, sending her into the barricade. And Becky and Jessica Carr were really ramping it up here. Like, we talked about the idea, like they were really pushing toward a match between these two earlier in the year, and then kind of just got away from that. And this match, it felt like that is a match eventually they could end up doing, because they really put a lot of focus on Jessica Carr with Becky.
Oh.
So Carr is admonishing Becky for trying to take the turnbuckle pad off and calls her insane. There were definitely some timing issues for AJ here. She at one point just ran right into Becky and then tried to slide to the floor and grabbing the leg, but then hits an Asai DDT, goes for the Shining Wizard and is stopped with a power bomb. And she's trying for the Black Widow and gets swung into the corner, and there's the first manhandle slam that AJ kicks out of. And Becky is screaming in Carr's face, and then they start shoving each other, and this causes a manhandle slam by AJ onto Becky for a near fall. Then she tries another, and it's countered into the Black Widow, but Becky gets to the rope, and she's grabbing AJ's hair, and she goes back to the corner, removes the turnbuckle pad, and uses Jessica Carr as a shield, where AJ runs into her. This is, playoff rules. And then with the referee's back turned, she knocks AJ into the exposed buckle, hits the manhandle slam, and pins AJ in 8 minutes and 15 seconds to win the title back.
Yeah. How long did you say?
8:15.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, it felt like this was how much was the last match? What are the times again for some of these?
I don't know off the top of my head.
But they all like this actually felt like somewhat substantial, maybe in comparison to some of these others. But like a lot of them were relatively shorter matches on the show. But I would still say overall, I thought it was a satisfying match. You know, the Jessica Carr element to it was a lot heavier here than it's ever been, which resulted in the tie-in to the finish, of course. But it also, of course, makes you wonder if it is actually leading to somewhere, or if this somehow resolved itself by the end. I thought AJ looked good here. Like everything she attempted was, relatively well, successfully achieved. And I thought the pace of the match was solid with no dead spots to me. I thought it was like still of a satisfying length, even though at 8 minutes. And, it closes this feud successfully, which I feel like is certainly time, for the both of them. And you wonder if AJ sticks around.
I guess that's a question that comes out of this. Like if you're going to what you do next with AJ here, like this certainly feels like the end of this program. Like this basically has been going on since August, which is we're in like MFT's Wyatt's territory of length. So I think it is time to probably put this one to bed after the Mania match.
In the back, we got a photo with from Nikki Garcia of Paige, AJ, and the Bellas calling themselves the original 4 horsewomen.
Oh, wow. Some shots fired there.
Yeah. All right. Well, could that be something? Like the fact that you've got the Divas division, well, at least 4 members of the Divas, quote unquote, division. You still have 3 of the 4 horsewomen, I suppose.
Ronda ain't coming back anytime soon.
Oh, I was talking about the WWE 4 horsewomen.
Oh, the WWE 4 horsewomen. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, you have 3 of the 4. Do they just create a 4th?
I don't know. Retroactively, somebody can play the role of Sasha Banks.
Because if there's one particular wrestler that you just insert a replacement for, there's no online fan base that would be more calm about such a decision than replacing the Sasha Banks of the group.
Sure,
every online Sasha supporter would be totally understanding and being like, oh, okay, this makes sense.
Yeah, we could end Viv Sasha Banks. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Kittle's chugging more beers. He's with Chuck Zito. We saw Terrence Crawford and the $15 million man, Connor Benn, as well. Got 0 reaction here. And then we got a shot of the General, who was with a bunch of fans. And we go from the General to Gunther. What a transition.
Of course, yes. Synergy.
Tremendous producing on this show. So it was Gunther and Seth Rollins in Seth's first match since October at Crown Jewel in Perth. And so Gunther immediately attacks him with a drop kick and powerbombs him right away. Cole says how Rollins is cleared, but there's no way he's 100%. And Cole warns us, don't expect a 5-star wrestling classic here. I was like, this is the only hope they have on this show for such a feat. I was like, I would hope that they're aiming for something at least approximating that, because if not, well, what are we waiting for here on this show?
Shouldn't we be going by cage match ratings right now? Isn't that the officially recognized WWE standard?
Oh my gosh, yeah. Maybe they're going to negotiate with cage match. They're going to buy cage match. WWE buys the rating system. So they meet in the center. They're going at it. The bell finally rings after brawling throughout the ringside area, and Gunther starts with his chops. Rollins slips away from a superplex attempt and goes right across the ring with a buckle bomb. And then it's Rollins with the big chops. He goes full Kojima here in the corner, and There's a super kick, running knee combo, and then he tries for the pedigree, but it's countered. Rollins keeps the arms locked and rolls, hitting the pedigree and a stomp for the first big near fall of the match. He tries an O'Connor roll, but in doing so, gives up his back and is caught in the sleeper. And man, this sleeper was over. Like as soon as Gunther locks this in, this crowd knows, uh-oh. And Rollins breaks out. He lands some forearms and hits the superplex Falcon Arrow combo. And this crowd was really getting hot as Rollins applies his own sleeper and Gunther has to get to the rope. Cole had a very good call here about throwing back to last year when Gunther got submitted as well. And so Rollins hits his procession of suicide dives. On the last one, he's caught, apron bomb, and then he is powerbombed. The powerbomb is attempted on the desk, but Rollins turns it into a pedigree. He then stomps Gunther on the desk, and he's ringside when all of a sudden a freight train makes its way into Allegiant Stadium named Braun Breaker, and this guy runs down and kills Seth with a spear on the floor, rolls him in, the sleeper is applied, and Rollins goes out at 15 minutes and 49 seconds. But in the greatest shot on this whole show, this was right at the level of that Vince McMahon peeking over the edge. We get an overhead shot of the gigantic ramp and Breaker sprinting the entire ramp, and Rollins just to have to just stand there for this spot, I mean, was incredible. And he spears Seth one last time. This was just unbelievable the way they shot this with the crowd, with the size of this ramp. Like these ramps, they're made for these Braun Breaker spots. This dude is like, there is no way this guy is going to hold up at this rate. But my God, is he just something to watch while he has all of his body functioning at this level.
I can't get over how massive he's come back looking. I knew he was big before, but now he's really big. At least that's the way it looks. Yeah, all the focus coming out of this match is on Braun Breaker, and I think rightfully so. You know, this was probably always going to be his spot at WrestleMania anyway, and doing it this way, you know, still gets to your destination, but at the same time, you are able to give us a Gunther Seth Rollins match, and also lead us to whatever Gunther and Paul Heyman's next sort of favor storyline chapter is going to be. So all of that I thought was very well handled, considering all the, you know, like unknowns and unpredictability attached to this particular feud. The match to me was well paced from the beginning with the brawl on the floor, setting the tone to Rollins' quick comeback burst, leading to just that barrage of like high impact moves on the announce table all the way to the Breaker return. So I thought everything was very well handled and provided obviously the best match on the show.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty clear that this was the match of the show. You've got the obvious match coming out of this with Breaker and Seth. This worked out really well. And, you know, Breaker had been cleared, so this was a good spot for him to return as well. We got to see all these various Mania watch parties all over the world. Nothing in Toronto, though, unfortunately.
They did have something in Toronto, but not with our friends at
I
don't think so.
Where was it?
I have no idea. I was trying to. I mean, it's not like I know what every bar looks like, but yeah, they did ID a place from Toronto. There was a guy who I like looked a little like Braden, but I don't think it was actually him.
A lot of people look like Braden,
like George
especially
Kittle.
like I think George Kittle was going to be starting to morph into Braden at a few points here. And then my favorite part.
By the way, those guys are doing tremendous.
Sold out
for the city.
Sold out.
Sold out at the well.
No 25% off sale. They needed nothing. They filled it weeks ago.
Yeah, you might line up at the door tomorrow if you're at the well if you want to get in for night 2, and you might be lucky. But yeah, as far as I know, they are sold out.
The stage was full for the Hall of Fame inductees, the class of 2026, and
catch people up for people who might not.
Yeah,
be there.
so. Today, Gunnar Udy, the son of Sid, went on Facebook and had this really lengthy post. He was pretty upset about the fact that his dad's induction didn't get its own kind of treatment in terms of a speech. It was just like a really quick video package and shot of the family on screen, and thought that they really did his dad dirty.
He complained about there being a lack of merch for his dad, nor any sort of like postering of his father in the city.
Which,
among other things.
In fairness, I would think like some Sid gear might do well for this audience. I would think, but
Sid gear maybe. But then you like would you say the same for Bad News Brown?
No, probably not.
Because if you do one for one legacy inductee, you do them for all of them, wouldn't you?
Well, I don't know if Bad News' kid was on Facebook or not. So they're all up there, including Gunther. He's there. And so is this guy, Seth, that longtime fans of Seth may know. He was a neighbor of Sid's in Arkansas that had Down syndrome, and Sid would constantly bring him to shows and even used him in some angles in WCW, and he was on the stage here with Sid's family. So that part was cool that they included him. But like both of Sid's sons were up there, including Gunther, and I will be refreshing his Facebook tomorrow to see how this went.
I'm very curious to see if like something would have been addressed like privately between them, like in the between the time that this made the rounds and this moment, or if like he was always planning to do this and just like walked out for it anyway. I really do wonder, but
unless Gunther is applying for a media credential, I think he's okay.
That's right. Yes.
Yeah. So everyone was on the stage. They gave entrances for AJ and Stephanie McMahon, and everyone.
Steph taking center stage, which I think like all but confirms that she was the headliner of the show.
I did see AJ's speech. I mean, the guy really was just like, "It's great to be here. I don't miss wrestling." I mean, it was like 10 minutes, and he was like, "Listen, I've been in those seats. I know no one wants to hear me talk. I mean, I got a suit out of this, so that was it. Short and sweet."
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then we see this video they've put together, this timeline of CM Punk's life going back to 1997. And just all the various companies he went through from Ring of Honor. No mention of TNA, by the way. They could have had
How long was he actually there?
He only did some spots with TNA, nothing too in depth, but he did go through TNA. More of a connection to TNA. They did show Ring of Honor here, which was you can't really.
He was at Ring of Honor for like 4-something years and led the school. Like he did way more at Ring of Honor.
Okay, then why don't you mention AEW if you're going to show Ring of Honor? Like, what's the difference?
Oh, okay. Well, I guess maybe they feel that's detached enough, perhaps. Like they're not exactly in competition with Ring of Honor like they are with AEW.
It's really silly, but it's how
they should have gone through his entire AEW feud with MJF and Hangman Page. Should have gone through workers' rights.
Because if we showed like this timeline of 2 years, it's like, oh man, there's another company out there. I'm going to turn off WrestleMania right now. I'm going to unsubscribe from ESPN. I'm going to start watching this other company. Like, I didn't know about this. Like, what do you think's going to happen?
It would have elicited some level of reaction. And like, what, to go through the effort of calling Tony Khan to clear the rights for the footage for that? Why would you do that?
No, they showed the Ring of Honor. They clearly had ROH photos they could
They
use.
didn't have to clear that with... Okay, so you're saying
why would they not?
Could have... Because those photos were probably taken by somebody else.
Well,
Those photos probably not owned by Tony Khan in Ring of Honor.
I don't...
This is stupid. We shouldn't even go on.
I don't care about this at all, this video. But nonetheless, he left in 2014, did some stuff for 9 years. And
they have no...
That's it.
They have no reason to be accurate. Or at least like accurate to that degree for a video package like this.
105,000 people attended this show. Did you know that?
105. What? This one?
Like, there's no need to be accurate, is what I'm saying.
Not for a hype video for CM Punk about his history.
If John Cena had gone out there and announced 100,000 people, as ridiculous as that is, there would be outlets that would run with that number.
Sure. Yes. Agreed with that.
Way really wants to move on here because we have a 6-minute match to get to here with Stephanie Vaquer and Liv Morgan. And folks, if you didn't live through Liv Morgan's Trouble music video, we got it live. Okay. They should have been charging you 25% more for these tickets because this was an unadvertised video come to life through Liv Morgan and her dancers, including the shirtless dude.
Yeah, I know. He's
back.
Kind of steamy.
He's back here, Kyle O'Reilly here. And we had the backup dancers. And then they tear her clothes off to reveal her outfit. And I'm not a fan of this song. That's all I'm going to say. Some great lip syncing here. But I don't think there was any attempt to make this feel like a actual performance.
This has really come out of nowhere. Like, I had no idea she had this ambition nor like any interest in music, much less like singing or dancing ability. So all of this is just kind of like come out of nowhere, and I'm still feeling like I don't.
Why didn't she have the lower back tattoo that she got in the music video? Like shouldn't you have married this whole concept together?
I don't know. Like for me, my issue is like this feels just like maybe a bit of a cash grab for like, you know, somebody who's looking to branch out and become a bigger star rather than some like. But that's what pop music is, right? So what am I even complaining about? So
the
say what
Liv
you
Morgan live tour, the Oblivion tour.
Yes. Say what you want about the song. I do think her ability to do this on a stage and to pull it off with confidence says a whole lot about how much she's grown as that sort of performer over the years. You know, like when she started, I mean, I don't know if she really felt that sure of herself on camera. You know, I think she was looking for her identity for a long time. But now she comes out, she's able to do even something like this, which requires, I think, a lot of at least, you know, positive talk and belief in yourself. And again, the ability to exude confidence on a grand stage like this. And to me, like, it shows that she's matured into somebody who feels very, very capable and even deserving of this sort of platform and this sort of stage.
You know, in 10 years, all of you are going to wake up, you're going to go to YouTube, and WWE Vault is going to upload something called Found Footage, the Trouble music video, the making of. And we're going to learn all about this dude.
This dancer, this Kyle O'Reilly?
Yeah, Kyle.
Perhaps. Yeah.
So Vaquer comes out, and, she got some confetti for her entrance. It's a rather subdued entrance for her. She comes out.
She's working on her own album. Just you wait.
Yeah, it's coming next year. Yeah. La Primera. So the Three Amigos is hit by Liv early on, and Vaquer gets her feet up on a frog splash and hits the Devil's Kiss. And then Liv turns it around. She teases her own Devil's Kiss, and that gets stopped. And Vaquer hits the Oblivion for a 2 count. This was like 2 minutes into the match. I was like, okay, we're already trading finishers here. So Roxanne Perez makes her return on the apron, distracting the ref, allowing Raquel to knock Vaquer off the buckle as Vaquer was going for the Vaquer Inferno. And this leads to another Oblivion, this time by Liv for the near fall. And Vaquer knocks Perez and Raquel off the apron. She ducks as Liv leaps at her and dives onto Raquel. So maybe something there with Raquel that we had been talking about, like this growing animosity that could be there she like takes out Raquel here. And then it's Vaquer with the springboard cross body, and Vaquer is thrown into the steps. She's hit with an MX by Liv, and then another Oblivion, this time Liv pinning her in 6 minutes and 50 seconds.
I couldn't believe how short this match was.
This was the shortest match on the show, and it had like the longest build of this whole show.
Yeah. And of course, like for WrestleMania, we wonder like what, you know, if something else went wrong and they had to cut this down. But this was one that felt very unsatisfying just because of how quickly it ended, and they didn't have a chance to get into any sort of higher gear. And I felt like at least it was deserving of at least several more kickouts and just to kind of, you know, amp up the crowd. As a result, it just kind of like nothing was all that impressive about it, nor do I feel this was a representation of what these two are actually capable of. And it just kind of happened exactly as we predicted. Judgment Day came in to interfere, leading to Liv Morgan winning, and that was it.
Yeah, I found this one to be underwhelming, and that was a theme I felt for several of these matches, but this one especially because I was a big fan of the build-up. I thought these two did a really great job of this lead-up, and this felt like maybe a step above what you would get on a Raw match, and you did get a title change, but I mean, it just felt like this was really hampered by just working in the run-ins. You're going to like the finisher so early, and it just felt very, very rushed for the amount that you would put into this.
I would think maybe this would be a rematch for Backlash, like 3 weeks.
I could certainly see that happening.
Yeah.
Dominic presents the belt, and then the 4 remaining members of, well, you didn't have JD here, but you did have these 4 of Judgment Day in the ring with the women and Dom. John Cena is back in the ring and to announce the big attendance, and then Bianca Belair makes her arrival, and she comes out, she joins Cena in the ring, and says we have to add 1 to the attendance figure, revealing her pregnancy. And John Cena is just, his mind is blowing at this news. And there you have it. Bianca Belair revealing her pregnancy here in the middle of the ring. So she is not coming back on Raw.
No. And I mean, this finger injury, I believe, is still very real. But
she legit just had like the surgery on it recently.
Yeah, and
so
But like she is very pregnant here, and so we wonder at what point she might have made the decision to have the surgery in conjunction with knowing that she might be out for some time due to the pregnancy as well. Obviously, huge congratulations to her and Montez. It made for an amazing reveal. Like, imagine having your pregnancy announcement at WrestleMania. So, yeah, wonderful moment. And I do think it signifies like a bit of a change in this industry where like, female performers we've seen like getting pregnant and becoming a mother is not the end of your career at this point. You're seeing people who are juggling both in Becky, Alexa, Nikki Bella, right now. So it's sort of maybe even the expectation these days.
Then they aired a big ad for WrestleMania in Saudi Arabia, and apparently they did not air this inside the stadium. So
I wonder what took them so long to figure that one out.
Yeah, they're like, oh, this does not typically get a positive response, and it would not have on this one. It's not. I think this is the double one that even if you're disconnected from the political aspect of this, I think for a lot of these fans, these traveling fans, it's like, this is going to be the WrestleMania you can't go to, and it's going away, and it's a purely money motivated decision. But I think that's going to add to like the kind of angst you're going to get as they have to start promoting this later in the year heavily for next year.
Yeah, at some point they won't be able to avoid it, right? No. But I suppose like knowing that a lot of press would be watching this particular show, getting a whole stadium to boo Riyadh, probably something they wanted to avoid. Still no dates. I mean, it's just 2027.
Yeah. Then we get the video for the main event. This featured comments from Cody going back to 2011, back in the Legacy days, and then fast forward to modern day and the whole convoluted build up to this match. And that sets the stage for Pat McAfee to come out, and he is followed. First, we see this whole graphics package of Vipers, and everyone had PTSD to WrestleMania 33. And oh my God, are we going to get the sperm revival? And this was a much.
Some people won't know what you're talking about, and
everyone listening to a wrestling stream at 11 at night, everyone knows the WrestleMania 2017.
I feel for the perhaps partners of people that do know that are probably that much more confused. Listening to this,
go watch the Orton Bray Wyatt entrances from 2017. Everyone will know the giant sperm that penetrated Orlando that night.
That's right. Yes. Who could forget?
So McAfee is out, followed by Randy, and then we get Cody's entrance. And this is the evolution of Cody. And we go from 2007 call-up Cody in his colored trunks.
This must have been his debut outfit, right? Like they showed the match with Randy. That
I'm sure it was. Yeah. Then we go to the dashing Cody Rhodes version with the mask, and then into Stardust, and then he went from Stardust right up until that WrestleMania in Dallas when he came up with the American Nightmare gimmick and transformed overnight and returned at WrestleMania.
To be fair, like American Nightmare is a direct lift from AEW, so yes. I mean nothing really changed there. I guess what any great omissions? Are we missing Evolve Cody? Or are we missing TNA Cody?
Yeah, where's TNA? Where's brown
all the
hair
TNA
Cody?
Mentions on this show?
Yeah, where's
Ring of Honor? Clearly they have a contact at ROH for photos. They could have put that.
Yeah, where's the Cody that needed the exorcism after being under the control of WWE?
Where's Bernard?
Some would argue that that's current Cody.
Where's Bernard the business bear?
Where is the goddamn business bear? That's a great question.
We are the biggest nerds, I think, John, in the world.
And then they're rising on the Cody Vader is Cody, who comes out in this gold and white attire with a mask that is probably what is going to be the starting bid for the WWE auction site of this mask.
This or the Undertaker casket, which one will be more expensive?
I don't know what the online reaction was to this. I did think this was a pretty cool entrance that
awesome.
They had. Like this was.
Listen, people understand when John and I are talking and maybe like making fun of this stuff. We're having fun. And
I'm dead serious. I generally am a pretty obnoxious person. Yeah.
This was like his Iron Man Hall of Armor scene, and I mean it was grand. Not as great as the AJ Lee entrance, but man, I thought it was pretty cool.
The best part was during this incredibly elaborate, expensive entrance, they cut to Randy, who's just like watching this. He's like, I just came out to my fucking theme that I've been walking out to for 15 years, and they give him this.
Where's my sperm?
It's just, it is quite the contrast when you put all of your eggs into one side's entrance and the other guy's, it's like Stephanie Vaquer coming out after the live music video. It was just like, yeah, we got confetti. Randy, you're going to come out to snakes on the video wall.
And he doesn't even win. That's the kicker, John. You know, you're going to lose and you don't get the cool entrance.
So if you were really paying attention here, Nick Khan is showing, but not just him. Jamie Horowitz, former EVP at WWE, also there, and he's filming Cody here. Jamie Horowitz, who you can look at his history and his exit from Fox Sports, but then went to WWE, and then he was part of the releases a few years ago, and now he's the co-owner of Omaha Productions, which is one of the producers of WWE Unreal. And I was told that they are filming this weekend for future Unreal as well. So it will be curious to see what they were focusing on, and whether like Paige is maybe something that is focused upon for a future Unreal episode.
Yeah, I'm sure it would be. Mm-hmm.
Brandy and Liberty are there, and Cody holds his daughter, and then McAfee does the intro for Orton, and then nails Cody with the microphone before the bell begins, and we go, and Orton starts stomping him. They go to the floor. There's a crossroads delivered to Pat McAfee, so he's out, and Jelly Roll appears. He just hops the barricade, makes it into WrestleMania, and he puts Pat through a desk with an elbow drop, killing Pat, and they stretcher out Pat McAfee. Mm-hmm. And Jelly Roll tells them to have the one-on-one match you're supposed to have. Well, it would have been nice, Jelly Roll, maybe if you stuck around or made sure that Pat McAfee was incapacitated.
Yeah,
Jelly Roll had places to be. He couldn't stick around for this match.
Well, clearly he wanted to watch the match, I bet. You know, yeah. No, you took your eye off the ball, Jelly Roll. But, like, at least the match started in the way that I think we all expected. And it's that, like, they fully recognize maybe the Pat McAfee reaction, or we thought they might. Yeah, I would say so. They fully recognize the Pat McAfee reaction, and they wanted to make a point to tell the audience that you were not going to get Pat McAfee from the moment that, well, even before the bell actually rang in this match.
But you get him later in the match.
Well, yes.
Yeah. Cole then mentions the rumors of Randy Orton being hurt. He says there have been rumors online, but they're also being talked about in the locker room that he has a back injury. And so this becomes the focus of the match, is Randy Orton's back injury.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Now, I see this, and it makes me wonder if, like, well, what the sources of the original rumors were, and whether or not, like, this was always a storyline. But, like, you watch the body of this match, and I will say it was rather confusing, because, like, you start this thing off with Cody Rhodes coming out in, like, a really cool entrance. All right, he comes out and he is part of a group attached to Jelly Roll that negates the biggest heel in the room in Pat McAfee. So what I felt was going to be a more anti-Cody sentiment stemming off of his reaction on SmackDown was certainly not that, and it was not that way from what they kind of, steered you towards. It was, like, I think, a relatively pro-Cody reaction. They weren't anti-Randy, but they certainly weren't booing Cody. But then you frame the entire match around Randy Orton being a babyface with the back injury, with the blood, and it just, it was at least interesting, and I'm curious to hear your thoughts on it, John.
Yeah, I mean, they did steer it towards everybody. Now, was it specifically noted that it was a back injury?
Yeah.
Because
wasn't it? Like, from Cole? That's what I
No, not from Cole. I'm saying from, like, when this was reported by Dave, it had just been like, he's dealing with an injury.
I didn't read the Dave report. I just kind of got it secondhand. So okay. Let me see.
Well, in the Observer, it was just, he's hurting. That was what was noted. And I'm just curious by that, if maybe on one of his shows, if he had in fact said back injury, because privately I was told it's a back injury. So I'm just curious there, because if he had not said back injury, that at least is interesting.
Okay.
So anyway, so that is the story of the match, is this back. Wade is also just dismissing any of these rumors. Cody goes for a Cody cutter, and it's turned into a backbreaker by Orton. But by delivering the backbreaker, he injures his own back, and he's wincing in pain. And Cody goes after the lower back. And this is when the fans really start to rally behind Randy and start to actively boo Cody Rhodes. Randy, who is selling the back, hits his superplex, but then starts selling the back again. They go onto the floor, and Cody posts him, and now Randy comes up, and he's bleeding, which is more sympathy for Randy. The boos intensify. Cody hits a draping DDT, and then Orton, out of nowhere, catches him with a crossroads and goes for an RKO. It's turned into a backslide, and then Cody hits an RKO. So both men have now hit each other's finisher once. Cody dumps him on the desk, and then Cody is caught with an RKO out of nowhere in the ring. Cody survives that. He goes to the eyes, like as much of a heel move as you're going to get in, this layout. And Orton, blinded, takes out Charles Robinson with an RKO. The old man, didn't see you there. Sorry, Charles. And so Cody holds up and stops Randy from kicking him in the dick, and then Cody kicks him right in his sperm.
That he did.
All the way back to 2017.
Yep.
And the crowd hates this. They were like, yeah, Randy might have tried to do this to you, but you can't reciprocate. And so he goes for a top rope Cody cutter and is caught coming down with the RKO, but the ref is still down. So out runs Pat McAfee in the neck brace, and you could just hear the 49,000 groans. And he's in a referee's shirt.
I mean, it is especially groaning because he completely doesn't sell the jelly roll splash through the table at all, other than wearing like a comical neck brace. And that
we're talking like 15 minutes tops here.
Yeah, and I understand like in this sort of moment, you can't have him exactly waddle down to the ring injured, right, for a near fall situation. But I just like one of my big complaints about all of this is just maybe how comical and how hard to believe into, hard to suspend my disbelief for is this entire Pat McAfee character and promo and presentation. You know?
This was not a great night for the let it play out crowd, is all I'm going to say. I thought Pat really added nothing here.
He further babyface Orton by getting RKO'd is what he added.
Yes. So he's laid out. McAfee comes in and he counts 2. And then Orton is looking at Pat and he smiles and he hits an RKO to Pat McAfee. So everyone cheers Randy. And by taking the eye off of Cody, Cody capitalizes with a crossroads, pinning Randy at 22 minutes and 40 seconds to retain the title. And then after, Orton grabs the belt, takes out Cody with a belt shot, and he punts Cody right in the head. Years since they have done this move. Aside from the Phantom one during the pandemic when the lights went out.
Edge?
Christian.
Edge?
I think Christian.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, right.
And then the final shot is Randy holding the belt as we go off the air.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Not the finish I predicted. I thought they would have Randy just straight up win. Like we discussed, John, whether or not they have like the boat has sailed for this like Cody Rhodes heel turn dynamic to the story. It's something they've completely gotten away from with the introduction of Pat McAfee. Even with last night's promo with CM Punk, I felt like no hint towards it, and maybe that was the idea. Like you didn't see it coming, but this could be interpreted as a Cody Rhodes. Well, this could have been interpreted as a double turn match. Certainly Randy Orton in disassociating with Jelly Roll and in the way he played out throughout the match. Sorry, McAfee. Yeah, he's the babyface now. Is Cody Rhodes a heel, or was he just a heel, or was he just a babyface who was able to find his killer instinct tonight? That is maybe the headline that they want you to leave the show with. I'll say I thought the match was compelling, but it was a slower paced Randy Orton style of match where he exhibited terrific selling, but it did require, I think, a bit of a slower pace. I didn't think the crowd turned on it. I felt like they provided like pretty decent reaction for it, but it wasn't the type of match you would rave about, after the fact. No. Coupled with the finish that I don't think this audience wanted, which I understand the desire to maybe further the story, probably for a rematch like immediately after this with Orton now chasing the babyface role. But I do think like on this stage, you wanted to leave the audience going home extremely satisfied to make up for everything that preceded it. And I don't think this achieved that.
Yeah, I would say for your main event of WrestleMania, like the first half of this match, I would not say like this felt like the most compelling of matches, and by the end of it, I don't know, it was fine, but I don't think many people are looking for fine for such a big match, one of your biggest matches of the entire year. It certainly felt like as though this were like if McAfee is not out of the storyline, it's greatly adjusted because you really don't see the idea of Randy and Pat McAfee teaming up after this.
I think they've totally abandoned that idea. And why would they choose to do it knowing like what sort no pun intended, the backlash to the angle has been, you know? Maybe you'll still get some McAfee, although like does McAfee stick to this whatever stipulation he put out? Was that the agreement from Nick Aldis?
That's right. Yeah, if he didn't win, he would never show up again.
Yeah.
So maybe this was Pat's write-off for now.
I mean, it could have been.
It kind of felt like it. Like, yeah. And if they don't follow up with this with Pat, like this really goes down as like an idea that just tanked. And
yeah,
like this didn't move tickets. This did not result in like this grand interest that Pat brought because he's one of your faces of ESPN. It just was largely met with negativity. It's not like this match produced this great climax at the end of the whole thing that left you feeling as though, okay, they had a rough start, but they delivered you something big at the end. Just this kind of felt like just the end of Pat. And now the focus, like you do the punt here, and Cody's got to sell that as well coming out of it, that you're obviously going to continue with those two as well. I thought a lot of this was a mess, and they're just trying to dig themselves out of what they had gotten into.
Yeah. So I think we get Cody and Orton for Backlash immediately. That feels maybe more of what the audience actually wants versus like the jelly roll Pat McAfee thing. But you know, through Pat McAfee now, they've also further introduced this idea that TKO is against Cody Rhodes, and they are throwing celebrities in there in the form of Dwayne Johnson, Travis Scott, and now Pat McAfee to try to ruin his WrestleMania main event.
So now, maybe they decided we can't waste this. Let's save Cameron for the run-in at Backlash.
Of course. Yes, of course. Yes. So, I mean, that is the further story that I think we are hearing from Cody. Did Cody turn in this instance to maybe, I don't know, make TKO happy, or like what does this mean for that story? When whether or not we'll actually get any sort of payoff to that story. You
hit it. I think it's Cody and Ari next year. Saudi night 2
has to be. Yeah, it has to be.
I'm curious what your overall thought was, like the show as a whole, because I was really underwhelmed by tonight's show as the first night of WrestleMania. I thought Gunther and Seth was the best match on the show. I found Drew and Jacob to be enjoyable. There were elements of the main event that, you know, the crowd was certainly into, but I think it fell really short of a WrestleMania main event. And I just think a lot of the other programs that they did put a lot of time into, I think a lot of people got shortchanged on this show, or just did not have really the time to go out there and have something memorable. It just felt like a show that was, I feel a lot of it was just, they were handcuffed in many ways, and it provided a show that even at 7 matches felt as though they didn't have enough time to disperse among a lot of these big matches. And I came away from this as an underwhelming show.
I totally agree. Yeah. And I'm somebody who, like, I don't know if I even expect like great quality wrestling on a WrestleMania anymore, but like even what we got to this in this iteration, I thought was below that bar, that standard I've kind of set for it. You know, I feel like they had a story to tell in the main event and they achieved probably their aim, but was it a satisfying story in totality? No, not at all. Vaquer and Liv, for whatever reason, was only 6 minutes for a WrestleMania title match that's been built for months. That to me is somewhat inexcusable. Like AJ and Becky, I thought was okay, you know, like even satisfactory, but not something that I thought was so incredibly blow away, nor the story maybe all that captivating. Gunther and Rollins, the lone exception that felt like a worthwhile, like in-ring match, with, you know, the Braun Breaker finish, which I thought was totally cool. The tag match will be remembered for Paige, and that made for a wonderful moment. You can argue outside of like Bianca Belair announcing her pregnancy, maybe the moment at the show, but it was not a good match. Same with IShowSpeed, same with, well, Jacob Fatu and Drew was fine, but it was like SmackDown level fine, not WrestleMania level.
There was a lot of that feeling on the show for me, of stuff that like really was on par with sort of like what you would expect on television. Like even like the angle to end the show, like it felt like this was like the end of a SmackDown of like, you know, the guys just holding the guy's belt. It was like, this was not any kind of finality. It was just more so this is the angle to get to the next match afterwards.
Check out Cody's eye.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Oh,
His eyes swollen shut here in the aftermath of this match. So, I mean, do you think he'll be a question mark for Backlash 3 weeks?
I just think the angle, like this is the first time they've done the punt angle in a long time that I feel like you should have, like that should be a big deal, but I don't see him missing a pay-per-view cycle.
Right.
Unless there was like something that actually happened here. But that's certainly where they're going to go next. And it did feel like they are pivoting away from the original tag idea that they clearly were setting up, and felt like tonight was it just as well. Like if you were somebody that was following this on the Pat McAfee side, like it just felt as though like they were just writing this off, and also feels like a stipulation that will probably be never mentioned again because I don't think we have seen the end of Pat McAfee on WWE programming.
I feel like we might get like the reveal of whatever he signed from Nick Aldis, and then maybe the actual like in ring goodbye. Like
that's right, because he blindly signed the contract on Friday, despite saying he always reads before he signs. What can that get you away from? Sorry, I protected you, Pat. You didn't have to put up the leaving WWE forever stipulation. We need you for the crossover appeal. Ari has overturned it. The man who will not be named.
Yeah.
So those are my thoughts. Kind of a disappointing show overall for the first night. And as we look toward tomorrow night, there was one less match. So don't know if that will necessarily make a big difference or not. But
somehow the matches will still seem too short, I bet.
Yeah, like they got this show out. Like they were pretty much done by 10 o'clock. This was like 4 hours all in. So I'm imagining a similar amount tomorrow. I expect we're going to get a lengthier main event, but I'm not going to predict anything because I don't know what the timing will work out even on this show with one less match than Saturday.
Yeah, well, we shall see. I'm sure there's always some room for surprises as well. Like Cena's inclusion in the show really amounted to very little. Like he was literally there to say hi and then to do the Bianca Belair bit and announce the attendance. Didn't really get anything fun, I would say, with him.
Okay, so that's the card tomorrow night. Punk and Reigns, Demon Finn Balor and Dominic, Jade Cargill and Rhea Ripley for the women's title, Sami Zayn, Trick Williams for the U.S. belt, Obafemi against Brock Lesnar on the ESPN portion, along with the 6-person ladder match for Penta's Intercontinental title. So we will see what they have for the follow-up. We have got feedback to get to, and we're going to be seeing what everyone else had to say about the first night of WrestleMania. So I will get us started, Way. We're going to go to Sean from Toronto. I have long ago stopped watching WWE on a weekly basis, and a night one of WrestleMania that had more commercials than wrestling completely validates that decision. WWE is becoming more about Wheatley American vodka than who is champion. I've been watching since 1991, but after 35 years, the TKO era is really souring my view on the company.
Yeah, I mean, you were exactly the type of person Pat McAfee was speaking about in his promo, and there are plenty of you, enough Sean's from Toronto that it's become a plot point in their own storyline, perplexingly enough. So I don't know if this show did that much to change that opinion. Let's go to Dave, who says, this show was terrible. It felt like a 3-hour pre-show for tomorrow, which is very clearly being booked and presented as the better / more important card. They presented the main event as fans have, quote unquote, quote, fans have waited 20 years for the culmination of the Cody Orton arc, unquote, just to have the first 7 to 8 minutes of said main event overshadowed by a former NFL player turned podcaster, beating up your top babyface who had to call on a country music star to help even the odds. 24 minutes total for all 3 women's matches combined on a 3-hour show. Pat McAfee's involvement in the main event went longer than any of the women's matches individually. And genuinely, who is the demographic they're trying to appeal to with this? Congrats to Bianca Belair on her pregnancy, but besides that heartwarming real-life moment and Gunther Rollins, this show was an atrocity. I hope tomorrow will be better. WWE is a shell of the promotion it was just 2 years ago.
I'll say this. I'm not going to stand here and pretend that Pat McAfee is not a major star. I mean, the guy's a lot more than a podcaster. Okay. This guy is like a major name and one of the faces of ESPN. I think in a like having the idea that we're going to have a crossover involving this guy that is very connected to our programming, it makes all the sense. I think it was the way in which they brought him in that soured everybody. It wasn't the idea of just using Pat McAfee, but instead of how they used him and this baffling idea of just running down this whole product as well. Like, I just think it soured everyone, and it was like some really awful creative, and not so much that it was just because Pat McAfee. Like, on its core, there's a logical reason to use Pat McAfee for this big show.
Yeah, and they've done it. They've done it with Pat McAfee. They put him on commentary to, I would say, mostly satisfying like response, at least from, I think the greater audience. They put him in a match with Adam Cole, which I thought was like way overachieved. Even like whatever he's done, on the main roster, I thought like was more than satisfying. But to take arguably the most important non-wrestling role of the entire calendar year in one of the main events of your title programs, that is an overstep. An overstep that we haven't seen since the year prior in Travis Scott, which is that much more disappointing because it shows that they didn't learn anything from the response to that one.
Let's go to Muggin. Other than Rollins and Gunther, Fatu, McIntyre, and Belair's return, I was whelmed by night one. Mm-hmm. Doesn't say over or under, just whelmed. A lot of women's matches whizzed by, and the main event was a bit of a downer with McAfee's involvement till the tail end. The following rematch should squarely put the focus back where it should be. The bar is this close to touching the ground. Night 2 should blow this out of the water, but I'm not holding my breath.
Now that they have 2 nights of WrestleMania, they can completely fail on one of them. And as long as they get night 2 right, I feel like, all will be okay.
Night 2, it can't be any worse.
Apologies, I am forgetting some of these super chats, which are open for this live show. We want to thank almost 900 of you. And that's not an exaggerated number, okay? You can cross-check that by looking down there. That are watching us live right now at youtube.com/postwrestling. Please do us a favor. Like and subscribe this video. We are we're a relatively small YouTube channel, okay? We are massive, trust us, on the podcasting and on the Patreon side of things. We live in giant mansions, John and I. But on Patreon, we are still kind of like, trying to get our footing after all these years. So it would help us a lot if you guys liked and subscribed and joined us here tomorrow. But we got some super chats. These are open as well, and we will give you priority if you choose to send one. One of them comes to us from Andy B, who says, this Cody Orton feud was a love letter to WCW 2000. How do you think this impacts Cody, their most successful full-time babyface in 25 years?
I've talked about it a lot. I think they have added a lot more fuel to the fire than they've needed to. Whether the idea is like a heel turn or just something that approximates like what they had with John Cena, and like there was a time like they were just trying everything to get a positive reaction for John Cena, and the same with Reigns. But in time, they kind of just settled on, well, the Cena reaction, that is this great type of dynamic to have with your performers. Cody was not really battling this, and yeah, for some, I'm sure if you are focused on all feedback, there's Cody fatigue among some, but like this guy has been your top babyface, and it just feels like they have amplified that reaction instead of like the audience dictating that was where they wanted to take this character. And like, it's, as we have always said, like, you want to turn this guy, that's fine, but like, who is that next in line babyface that takes that role? Because typically business has coincided with having that generational babyface, and whether you like him or not, Cody has been that figure for this boom period for the company.
I do think anti-Cody sentiment has been vocal enough that like it was worth addressing, and like I think even as like last night on SmackDown, like these crowds were not necessarily like so overwhelmingly loving him, right? There's just been a bit of a staleness, I would say, to his babyface act that I think has created that sort of vibe. So I thought it was worth addressing. But I think also these reactions have been proven to be very inconsistent depending on these crowds. Some crowds still absolutely love Cody, and for that reason, probably not worth committing to a full-on heel turn. So we shall see exactly what the follow-up to this is, because he was pretty heelish in this match and ended the show.
Oh yeah,
ended WrestleMania.
This was designed for that reaction and for Randy's opposite reaction for sure. Like, that is how this was structured. This was not like the audience just taking over this match. They were led in that direction.
Jake from the Windy City sends $5. Thank you, Jake. He says, Cody versus Orton. Jake, who I believe is actually in attendance for the show. He says, Cody versus Orton, probably the first time in history that a promotion has attempted to turn the crowd here heel. I just find all this confusing, he says.
To turn the crowd heel.
To turn the crowd heel. I mean, maybe just something to do with this, double turn that's going on. Yeah.
All right. Let's go back.
Yeah.
Oh, do you have more?
No, your turn.
Let's go to Luke here. I love that main event. They seem to have retconned the Pat stuff with Randy, which was whatever. The actual match was exactly what I wanted from Cody and Randy. The psychology of Cody focusing on a body part and doing all of the things his mentor taught him was great. Fantastic selling from Randy. He's right back to where he was before Pat. They haven't missed on a night one main event yet. Seth and Gunther was also great. Wish that Gunther won straight up, but I understand wanting Braun on the show. Liv and Steph had some really good sequences, but it needed to be twice the length. Rest of the show was not great. So there you go. Someone that enjoyed the main event.
Let's go to Ross, who says, I genuinely don't understand how anyone gets any enjoyment out of this product anymore. Dozens of ads between the wrestling followed by matches that had months of build-up getting 7 minutes. Truly despicable stuff. Do the people in charge of these shows even like wrestling? Begging people for months and months to buy tickets to the show just to deliver their non-stop commercials, boring matches that were given almost no time, meaningless celebrity involvement, no video packages, and entrances featuring bad lip syncing and live choreography to one of the worst songs ever recorded. Seth Gunther was good, and the main event was fine for what it was until the overbooked mess of a finish. Otherwise, a complete waste of time. 2 out of 10.
I'm not going to disagree that I think that whole match could have come across much cleaner with no Pat McAfee involvement at all, but they kind of needed to.
You had to address it.
You had to, yes. But it was like, again, it goes to your argument. Like, there was no enhancement of this involvement. And now that WrestleMania is over, I think it's very easy to label this as like a misfire.
Yeah.
Cam writes, I trust that you will explain to me why Pat was inserted into the storyline weeks before the main event, only to be tossed out as trash in the main event. Outside of that, Bianca's pregnancy announcement was the only memorable moment of the night. I'm shocked at how tame and lackluster it was.
Well, the fans turned on it. I mean, I imagine the initial plan was for him to be a lot more involved, to carry towards the Backlash match with Cody and
I think that was very clearly where they
Cody
went. They wanted to go, and it would not appear that you can get to that. Although let's not assume anything with some of their creative directions. I mean, Randy and Pat could be out hand in hand on Friday. Yep. Calls us a B show with WrestleMania entrances.
Let's go to Alex from Portland, who says this was a 5 out of 10 show. Cena asked who tonight will step up and deliver, and it's hard to deliver when your match is less than 9 minutes. Question, which movie advertised tonight has the most interest for you? Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat 2, or The Mandalorian and Grogu?
Yeah, I forgot to mention that we had the Mandalorian Grogu combo spotted in the crowd. Would you? What timing?
What do you mean?
I mean, they caught them on camera, like just hanging out watching WrestleMania.
Sure. I mean, they're celebrities, aren't they?
Yeah, sure.
Grogu is huge. Yeah.
Is this a direct? Is the Mortal Kombat movie a direct sequel to like the 90s film, or is
no? They did Mortal Kombat recently.
I'm not up to date on it. Yeah. I'll say Street Fighter. I will definitely watch Street Fighter just for the novelty of it. I was one of the few that actually liked the original movie, even though it was not great with Van Damme.
I love this Street Fighter trailer, and I think Cody is going to be a major star coming out of it.
Is he dressed up as Guile for one of the appearances a couple of days ago?
He looked completely ridiculous, and but this is I think to me part of the appeal of Cody Rhodes. He's just got a real sense of humor about him. This is BT Cody, doing Guile, and I just think the sort of greater audience will fall in love with him. And
what if he got kicked so hard in the head that he comes back and this is his side effect? He's got hair like this from the punt.
Yeah. But the movie looks great. It looks like a video game come to life.
Oh yeah,
looks like
we're gonna review that one and see. Hiroki Goto wreck shop on everybody.
Let's go.
You're up next.
Oh, Jeremy in Texas says, I'm just leaving the event. Tonight was fine. Thumbs in the middle show. I could notice some areas of tarped off and empty seats, but this was a much better overall than night one of last year. Cody winning was a small surprise. Paige coming back was leaked, but it was still nice to see live. Are the tickets overpriced? Sure, but I thought WWE delivered a fine show tonight. That's great. As the live experience seems, at least for this fan, very satisfying. And he shows us a photo of Paige from his viewpoint.
I'll respectfully disagree. Night one of last year had First, like, there was nothing to me on the show that approached like that Rollins Reigns Punk main event last year. I get, the first night was not as strong as night 2 had the awful main event, but it did have that Io Bianca Rhea opener. Just looking here, Tiffany Stratton, Charlotte Flair, Jacob Fatu, LA Knight, Jade Cargill, Naomi, Jey Uso, and Gunther. I mean, it wasn't a great first night. I will give you that, but I don't. That main event was really great last year, and I didn't think there was even the Rollins Gunther match. I don't think it reached like that level for what it was. Anyway,
let me just mention our next piece of feedback is just simply a screenshot from Mark of Tony Khan's timely tweet. AEW is where the best wrestle this week. Don't miss Dynamite, etc., etc., etc. So. Last time he did this was the reveal of the Pat McAfee story, the first week. So Tony, I don't know, clearly capitalizing on what he perceives to be negative sentiment towards the show.
Okay, we go to our correspondent, David Bixenspan. I'll take this one.
Oh, boy.
What a bunch of insipid fucking pablum that show was. At least Paige forgot what company she was in and actually tried to make her shit look good. And at least we got a double juice match, even if the second running of the razor came at the finish for no apparent reason. The actual highlights of the show, besides Paige's terrifying everyone at Gorilla by daring to lay it in, were the Udy family bringing out Cowboy Seth as part of the Hall of Fame segment, the detailed sculpting on the Cody Rhodes mannequins, clarifying that he's definitely not Jewish, Bianca Belair having a baby, I guess, and Cody seemingly gaffing himself several minutes early when it made no sense to not wait for the post-match belt shot. Regarding Andreas Hale, the real sad part about nobody...
So, I mean, just seeing the end result of, like, his eye, I don't know if that would be a blade job. Like, what do you feel? Or, like, did the eye come after the punt?
I
guess.
I don't know, like... I was just seeing that eye for the first time when you pulled it up, so yeah, I wouldn't even know if it was like the belt caught him or what happened, if it was the kick or something else that, like, it could have just been a punch that came in and just laid it in on him. I'll have to go back and look. He says, regarding Andreas Hale, the real sad part about nobody walking out in solidarity is that, as you mentioned, there is nothing left this weekend if you're media. The press box media booth experience sucks. There are no more press conferences. The interview availabilities ended last night with the Hall of Fame red carpet. Anyone who walked out would be missing nothing. They'd probably get a better experience by watching the show on TV or a giant screen, literally anywhere else in Las Vegas. Everyone who bothered showing up to that press box tonight is a weak, glorified company superfan there to suck on the WWE teat. This being David Bix's fan, by the way, everyone. At least we still have 9 Inch Noise at Coachella and the immortal clusterfuck left to go to save the night. There isn't much to talk about from this abysmal fucking show, so I hopefully don't have to betray both John and Wai by turning you off in favor of Trent Reznor at 11 p.m. Okay, so Bix is long gone. That will almost surely be the best sports and or entertainment in the desert tonight. Again, I'm not going to preach to, like, how the media needs to respond to something like this. I certainly wouldn't expect any type of that solidarity, but I would argue that just about any outlet has very little influence with WWE, with ESPN being one of those exceptions. And given that it is your guy, I would look first toward an ESPN for a type of response, and would they go to bat for Andreas Hale in that this is our guy. We stand by our guy. He gets a credential. That is who I would be looking at first to kind of lead this. And
I don't think they think of this as a big enough story for them to bother with. I really don't.
Well,
ESPN, I mean.
You're up next. We have a bunch here.
Let's go to O'Donnell, who says, I was sad leaving WrestleMania 35 in 2019 because I realized that unless they switched to 2 nights, there would never be another good Mania because they were too long. That show started at 5:20 p.m. and ended at 12:40. And the length hurt WrestleMania 32 to 34 as well. It felt hopeless. But then COVID happened and some good Manias followed. I feel that same hopelessness in this ESPN era, realizing that I don't think there could ever be another good Mania. Don't get me wrong, I thought the show was mediocre overall. That burden goes on WWE. But I honestly don't think a great show can withstand these ads and bullshit TKO, ESPN, the bullshit that they throw at you. Under 7 minutes for Steph and Liv is just a disgrace. 2 last things. Nikki Bella posted on social media that she could finally reveal that she fractured, tore, and sprained her ankle and had surgery 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
So they knew immediately she was out. And Charlotte posted on social today that Alexa was the 5th horsewoman, so there might be something to that picture backstage. Okay, well, there you go. Yeah, okay, well, there you go. They kept it a good secret.
That is very consistent with I think I had told you this, but like that was going around that she had the surgery, but again, I couldn't confirm that. But there you go. She's now disclosed that. So,
wow, that's a terrible break. Like, and she did that running. You remember afterwards?
Yeah. So it was the SmackDown that she injured herself, and I think it was that Raw the Monday after that she came out. So I imagine it was. I don't know when what the exact date was, but I'm pretty sure it was like a Friday, and then the Monday she showed up for that run-in after the injury. I think.
Okay. Wow.
So there's your timeline. If she had the surgery 2 weeks ago, she's 100% not doing the show as of then. Mm-hmm. And obviously they wanted her to keep up the illusion of, this idea that she was battling it. But I mean, privately, I had heard that like 9 days ago, I was told like, this is not going to be happening, but we need to wait to see for sure. We go to Mike, who says, pretty uneventful show with too many short matches. Legitimately surprised at Paige's return, but the winners of this match were a foregone conclusion after it. Disappointed at Alexa being distracted for quite some time at the end, though, as Nikki used her crutch to attack Charlotte. I mean, it's her best friend on the floor. Wouldn't you be focused? And like we've never seen outside interference before. Can you explain Orton's RKO on Pat McAfee? I don't know.
I guess in story, he was upset about the, the slow count. Maybe you could interpret that as, or like taking too long to get to the ring, or just Pat's general ineptitude in getting himself like splashed by Jelly Roll. Like he did say on Friday, he didn't need Pat McAfee, and maybe you could argue was only using him for whatever reason to get to Cody.
I might actually tune in to see Pat McAfee's recap of this, his in-character recap of this on Monday.
Yeah. Like that'll be the Cody. Like Orton at this point is a babyface, so he's going to have to like make babyface justification for why he associated with Pat McAfee in the first place. And I think it'll be some version of that. I was using him and he was ineffective, and so I threw him to the curb.
He ends it by asking if you think there's a possibility. I think Punk will retain over Reigns. Do you think The Rock's music will hit and he will come out tomorrow night to confront Roman Reigns, and that's how the show closes leading to next year's? So he's saying Roman Reigns loses and then The Rock appears at the end of the show to set that up. I would say that I would not see Reigns losing if you had that scenario in place.
Yeah, I'm not expecting The Rock, period. I certainly don't feel confident in him promoting a match a year in advance at this point.
No, I think that would be tough. Yeah. But if you did promote it a year in advance, it wouldn't be the first time The Rock announced something, and then you'd have Triple H go and announce that we're changing plans and New Orleans will come eventually.
That is correct. Yes.
Okay, you can always change.
Hey, maybe Saudi won't happen, and we're going to go back to New Orleans next year.
You cannot, at this point in time, with the state of the Middle East, say 1,000% that we can hold this show in Saudi Arabia next year. That June show is already probably a big question mark, and you cannot predict where this is going to be. Like if there is still a like rockets going off in January, that's going to be a problem.
Yeah. So all that said, who knows about Dwayne Johnson's schedule, or just like what he wakes up wanting to do, today. But like if he feels up to it, I could see him in the closing moment, perhaps. More importantly, I feel like he would be the guy in this Cody TKO story to at least like, I don't know, like show that somebody
it's a lot more logical for this, like this mastermind that's behind all of this is Rock that would tie it all together. But they buried the hatchet last year, remember, on the debut on Netflix? So
I do, yeah.
There's no bad blood anymore. Yeah, that didn't happen, right? Last one here is Matt from Montreal. Maybe it's me that's used to watch WrestleMania to end feuds, but this felt like a weekly show to continue storylines. Why did they book Rollins and Gunther if it was only to bring back Braun Breaker? I mean, that's not going to be on my complaints of this. I thought that was well done. Main event was a good match, but only to see Randy turn on McAfee, and ends with Orton holding the title. He did not win.
They booked Rollins and Gunther, I guess because Gunther didn't have another opponent, and he should probably be on the card. And also, like, so when did you hear that Braun was ready? That he was cleared?
I heard he was cleared a couple of weeks ago, maybe 2 weeks.
And I guess roughly. I wonder if like they would have considered that enough time to actually build the match.
I think at that idea, I think they felt by that point it's you do the return and then you can do the proper build up for Rollins and Braun, whether it's Backlash, whether they hold off on that. You certainly could do it in three. Remember, Backlash is in 3 weeks. It's a very quick turnaround that they have. So, yeah, that was, I guess, part of it as well. Like, he was ready to go, but let's hold him off till this. And this was a very impactful way to use him. I wouldn't necessarily have wanted that match on 2 weeks' notice. And, it's Braun's first match back. It's, it's a lot to put into that. And there's a lot to flesh out with the return that I don't think you needed to rush that one. Braun got a huge spotlight on this show. So I don't think, no harm, no foul. But Rollins was really the ping pong ball of this year's Mania of all the different opponent changes that went on. So there you go. We will do this all again Sunday night after night 2 of WrestleMania, and we will see if it's a better reception to night 2 than night number 1. But again, a big thank you to everyone for staying up with us. And if you were checking out any of our coverage this week, really happy with all of the shows, and not just with Way, but also on the site. Great work from everybody, from Neil Flanagan, Jack Wannon, John Kleinchester, the Neil Flanagan, the whole team has been doing just excellent work. Jason, Brandon Thurston, we appreciate all the help. The site's been doing really well. So we thank all of you out there. And again, we're back Sunday night right after WrestleMania. So hit the subscribe button or you'll piss us off.
And you don't want to do that.
That's it.
No. Yeah.
What are you going to do after this way? It's not even midnight yet. You got an hour before the Immortal Clusterfuck.
And you know what? Who needs sleep?
Nobody. Yeah. As Paul Heyman said, why waste time sleeping?
Yeah.
Okay. We're going to sign off, but thanks to everyone for joining us. We're back Sunday night, and that concludes our review of the first night of WrestleMania.